Okay, so programming overview for the start of this cycle. Everyone is starting a new training cycle. This is for Monday, the 24th of March. Okay, these cycles are going to go on until the end of May time, and starting with our Relentless. Okay, so our CrossFit Competitors program. We are going to look at a Monday. We're going to start with some clean pulls. Okay, so we're going to have a repetitive theme of clean pulls and heavy squats. Those will be on different days. On the first week, it's going to be clean pulls on day 1, and then front squats later in the week on day 3. Paired on day 1, we're going to do some running. We are going to do quite a lot of aerobic base building via the run, just because we're coming into the sunnier months, so it's going to be a nice one to do that for. Day 2 then is going to be endurance. We're going to focus on longer conditioning pieces now that the open is over. We're almost treating this as another opportunity to build a base. Okay, there's been a lot of intense metcons, lots of kipping, lots of dynamic movements, so we're going to take a step back from that, build loads of strength and build loads of aerobic endurance. So day 2 is going to be a big endurance day this week. Again, these days will change week upon week. Day 3, a front squat focus. So we're going to manipulate front squats with different variations and obviously different loading. So we're starting off with some chains. So chained front squats will change your resistance curve. So as you stand up out of the squat, more of the chain is lifted off the floor, so the weight increases as you stand up out of the squat. That's usually the easier part of the squat, so it gives you a more even resistance curve throughout the whole movement. Really good to get strong on front squats. We're going to pair that with strict press, and then we're going to do plenty of barbell cardio. Okay, so things like, think of your Grace kind of workouts, things where we're just cycling barbells, just to get a little bit of extra metcon exposure, but still sort of single modality. Day 4 then, another endurance piece. So both those endurance pieces we're aiming to be over 40 minutes. Some of them will be over an hour, so really building a strong base. And then day 5, there's a lot more gymnastics volume, and then some form of gymnastics metcon. Okay, so obviously there's only like 2 typical CrossFit metcons there every week, and then 2 longer endurance pieces, and a whole lot of strength, and a run, at least 1 per week. I'm thinking what we're going to do is probably, I've got a rough plan of alternating the running and the metcon intensity, so those will kind of be varied week upon week, but your general movements there are going to stay the same. So we're going to build on squats, clean pulls, and then you've lots of bodybuilding accessories, different strength movements all built in there as well. So that's our Relentless program, and we're going to build on that for the next 2 months. Next up, our Hard to Kill programs. This is kind of our hybrid, if you want to call it that, jumping on the high rocks trend and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of you guys are doing this Hard to Kill program. It's very popular. So day 1, again, all of the programs and all of the cycles this time around are going to be a real strength focus, and the last cycle we did was a little bit more varied. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit more sticking with the same movements week upon week. Some people love that, some people like it less and they prefer the variance, but it's going to be a really good opportunity for you guys to get strong and focus on one movement repeatedly. So day 1, or movement one, we're going to do is a barbell hip thrust, so loading up the posterior chain without having to go through any sort of heavy hinge pattern. So hip thrusts we're going to do for that, just a little bit of a change. We're also going to keep in, obviously we have running intervals on this as a hybrid sort of program. So you've got running and hip thrusts and some accessories there. We're going to do a little bit more injury prevention, all that kind of stuff as part of your warm-ups and accessories. Day 2 then, sort of similar. We're going to have 2 endurance days and 1 running day. And then some of that will be included in the Relentless program, but slightly different. And then week upon week, we're going to alternate those. So 1 week will be more biased towards running, 1 week will be more biased towards your typical metcons or off-feet conditioning in the gym. And then we've a lot of strict gymnastics. We're going to build on push-ups and we're going to build on pull-ups, because I know a lot of people really want to get better at those. And then we've got all the usual suspects: heavy squats, heavy presses, a little bit of bodybuilding to keep things exciting, and that's the general format. So hip thrusts are a big one, squats and loads of variations on squats, and then all your other stuff built around that. So it should be nice and varied, and we'll build on that week upon week. So that's Hard to Kill. Build then is taking a lot of the strength from hard to kill and putting it into 3 days. Now, I know a lot of you guys on the build program would prefer to train over 4 days. These are 3 fairly packed out days, okay? Each of those sessions is probably going to take slightly over an hour, give or take. It's always hard to tell exactly how long that'll take people. But if you want to split this out over 4 days, that's absolutely fine. So don't look at it and say, oh, it's only 3 days, it's not very much. There's a lot of volume packed into 3 days here, so you can split it out over 4, or as usual, go into the vault and grab a couple of extra sessions if you want to do some extra accessories or something as a 4th day. So yeah, similar strength to what I just said. So we'll see hip thrusts, we'll see a lot of strict gymnastics, so pull-ups, push-ups, heavy squats, heavy presses, some bodybuilding, and then with the build program, we're just putting in a little bit of extra volume there. So lots of accessories, lots of calf accessories. That's kind of a bit of a bias for me at the minute. I'm looking into a lot of strength training through calves, something that I would neglect a lot in my own training. I think it's really valuable, especially for people who are out running. But this build program is going to have just really well-rounded strength, and again, following the same format as the other cycles, it's going to be quite progressive. So we're going to see the same movement come up multiple weeks in a row, and we're just going to progress by adding reps or adding weights, okay? So we can really see some strength gains. That's your build program. Obviously dive into it, have a little look at your specific exercises and rep ranges and everything, and let me know if you need anything. And then finally, our more with less. More with less is going to be oh, I spotted a mistake already, so I need to change that. So more with less is going to look at 3 different strength movements, okay? One of them is going to be focusing on squat patterns and repeated squat patterns. One of them is going to be focusing on posterior chain, so deadlifts and different variations of single leg deadlifts. And then your 3rd day is going to be upper body, completely upper body. There's going to be a couple of optional finishers in there, which will get the heart rate up, but there's also going to be a big strength bias. I've also gone into a little bit more detail in this cycle, which I think is helpful for people who are obviously more with less, you're training at home with minimal equipment. If you have minimal equipment and we have something like a front squat, for example, there is an option there if you only have limited weights available to do a few other things and maybe increase the rep ranges. So there's just a little bit more guidance on this cycle, which I think will help a lot of you with the more with less program. So yeah, basically an upper body pushing day, if you want to call it that, or quad dominant, a lower body posterior chain dominant day, which is going to be more hip thrusts, single leg deadlifts, stuff like that. And then your upper body day, which is upper body. Okay, so that's kind of our 4 main programs, cycle starting Monday the 24th, and we're going to wrap those out for 2 months. So if you have any questions, have a look at your program when they're released on your app, and let me know if you have any questions, and we'll get it sorted. Cheers.